The sum you have to memorize. So first one, this one is, this shows that you have to change this power. You have to make cos 2 theta. So those formulas which I will use over here. So those formulas you have to just remember this one. The first formula is whenever you have the a square minus b square, that becomes a minus b into a plus b. Whenever we have the two squares and the minus sign, very first formula, and square may be trigonometric, may be exponential, may be logarithm, may be algebraic, but the two squares, we have the minus sign over here. The second formula, we have this one. Whenever we there, that formula belongs to the AS. So cos square of x plus sine square of x, that is always equal to the 1. That is the first formula. Then you have another formula that is very simple. So other formula is when we have this one, cos of 2 theta. There are three results of the cos of 2 theta. That formula is called the double angle formula. The first formula for the double angle is cos for the cosine of the cos. That is cos square of theta minus sine square of theta. And similarly, these two formulas, we can change this one. If you remove this cos, so I can write this on 1 minus 2 times sine square of theta. So cos of 2 theta is expressed this one. And the third and the last formula is 2 cos square of theta minus 1 I have to put over here. So these results I have to use in this identity to prove one. So I will start from the left hand side. These are the formula. You have to remember these formulas. These formulas will be used over here. So I will start with the blue marker. So whenever we have any identity, I have to start with the left hand side. So the left hand side of this one is cos of 4 of theta minus sine of 4 of theta. Sorry. Next, we have to have the squares and how you write in the square forms. You can write this one as cos of square of theta, then becomes the whole square. We have this one minus times sine square of theta and the whole square. As the first formula written in the rectangle on the right hand side of this sheet, we have this one. There are two squares and the minus sign between them. If the minus sign between them is, this means you have to make two brackets. You have to apply the first formula. You have to make two brackets, and there is a sign of multiplication. One is with the plus sign, the second is with the minus sign. So I have this one, cos square of theta minus sine square of theta. Cos square of theta plus sine square of theta. And already we have know that whenever the cos square plus sine square with the same angles and the plus sign, that becomes 1. And we know that in this formula, we have this one. Already we have this one. Cos square minus sine square is equal to the cos of 2 theta. So that is equal to the right hand side. If you follow these steps, then you will get the full marks, 3 marks for this question. Then we have the next one is the second part of this question. We observe what's the second part. I have to erase this one. For erase this one, I have to use this option. So my drawing will be clear. So what's the second part of this question is? So that second part belonging to the integration, and we haven't done the integration. So there is no need to solve this part, the next one. Just I will check, is there any other part of the trigonometry? That is a vectors form. That is again the vector form. Complex numbers. Again, differential equations. No, there is no question. No, I will check the third paper. Logarithmic, differentiation, complex. That's one. That is the application of function. We have this one. Yeah, this is a question that this is a topic that I explained yesterday. In this question, we have 3 times cos of 2x minus root 3 times sine of 2x in the form of r times cos of 2x plus alpha, where r is greater than 0 and the value of the alpha is lying between 0 and pi by 2. So I have to express this one. Yesterday I explained that in these questions where we have one form and we have to express in the second form. And we have one form and I have to express in the second form. For this one, there are some rules because this question belonging to the trigonometry. So we have some rules. What are the rules over here? The first one is you have to equalize given and required form. Just before starting this one, again, I have the formula. You have to apply this formula to solve this one. The first formula you will use over here, the cos of A plus B. That formula is given in the formula sheet, cos of A plus B, that is equal to the cos of A into cos of B. If you have the plus sign, it becomes minus sine of A into sine of B. That's the expansion of the A plus B. That is called the compound angle formulas. For that formula, we have to use over here. So I start my questions. The first step of the question is whenever you have to express one form into the another form, then you have to equalize both the forms. So 3 times cos of 2x minus root 3 times sine of 2x. That is the given form, and we have to make required form r times cos of 2x plus alpha. Remember that in the given form, we have just x, the variable. On the right side, we have the three things. X is always over, alpha is always over, and the R, capital R is always over. So the form in which we want to express all the unknown variables you have to calculate. So how you will calculate this one? That the first step is already you have to equalize given and required form. The next step is that on the right hand side we have to apply the compound angle formula to expand the cosine or the sine, whatever the question is given. So you will write this one as cos of 2x into cos of alpha. With a plus sign, it becomes a minus sine of 2x into sine of alpha. So you have this one, expand this bracket. When you will expand, you will get the r times cos of 2x into cos of alpha minus capital R times sine of 2x into sine of alpha. We know that whenever we have to compare two equations, then we have to compare the coefficient. In algebraic form, we have to compare the coefficient of the like terms. Like term means the coefficient of the x square will be equal to the coefficient of the x square. The coefficient of x will be equal to the coefficient of x. But in this case, we have to compare the trigonometric ratio. On left hand side we have cos of 2x. Where is the cos of 2x? The cos of 2x is over here. Suppose I have this blue marker. So cos of x is over here. On the right hand side, where is the cos of x? There's the cos of x. That's the comparison of the two equations, comparison of the two terms in trigonometric. Now, where is the um, sine of x, the terms involving the sine of x? That is the terms of the sine of x over here. And over here, we have the terms of the sine of x. So, whenever we have the sign of equality between these two, and these are the two forms, these are not the equations, these are the two forms, these are this form. So, you have to equalize the coefficient of the term involving the cos on one side as well as on the other side. So I have to equalize blue color with the blue color. This means 3 times cos of 2x, that will be equal to the r times cos of 2x into cos of alpha. Then we have this one minus root 3 times sine of 2x, that is equal to the minus r times sine of 2x into sine of alpha. Now you have to cancel the terms. Which terms you will cancel out? Cos of 2x will cancel with the cos of 2x, and sine of 2x will cancel with the sine of 2x. Minus is cancelled with the minus sign. Now you will get two new equations. Which are the two new equations? I will use the green color marker. So r times cos of alpha, that is equal to the 3. That is called equation number 1. The second one is r times sine of alpha, that is equal to the root 3. As yesterday I explained that in this type of the question, the value of r is given. What's the value of r? You have to use this one. Suppose that you have to use this color marker. So that formula you have to memorize. R square, r square. R is equal to the under root a square plus b square. And we know that what are the a and b? A is the coefficient of the sine and b is the coefficient of the cosine. Or in other words, these are the first and second constants, which are the coefficients of the sine as well as cos. So we have 3 whole square, the plus and minus root 3 whole square. Use your calculator. What you will get? The 9 plus 3, that becomes under root 12. Remember that the value of the r is always positive, as already given in the statement of the question, where the statement of the question is over here. So that's the statement of the question. Value of r is always positive. Now you have to put this value either in the first equation or in the second equation to get the value of cos of alpha. So you know that over here, suppose I have this color, r from first equation, r times cos of alpha is equal to the 3. What's the value of r? That is under root 12. That is the 12th answer of this one. So we have the cos of alpha is equal to the 3 by root 12. When you have to write, so you have to write over here. So what's the answer of alpha? The answer of alpha is cos inverse of 3 by root 12. 3 by root 12. Now you have to use the calculator to find the answer 3 by root 12. Where is my calculator? My calculator is over here. So I have to find the mod of the calculator must be in radians. So there's the shift over here. What is the radian? And this case is in the 4. Now I have to find the cos inverse. There's the shift and this one, the cos inverse. Then we have to put the bracket. We have to write the 3 over here. And in denominator, I have to write root 12. So where is the root and where is the 12? No, I have to write this one as, we have to find what's the answer of this one. We have to put equal to sign. That is 1 by 6 pi. So alpha will be equal to, no, I have to erase this one, 1 by 6 pi. The answer of this will be 1 by 6 pi, or we have the pi by 6. Am I right? No. Hence, now we have to write the answer of this one. The answer will be equal to the, I use different colors. Suppose I want to use the black color. I haven't used the black color. So 3 times cos of 2x minus root 3 times sine of 2x. That's the question. And you have to write r as it is. What's the value of r is under root 12. What's the cos? Cos will remain as it is. What's the answer to x? 2x will remain as it is. What's the answer of alpha? Alpha is pi by 6, if I'm not wrong. If you have this whole working with all steps, then you will get the full marks. That's the first part of the question. Now I have to solve what's the second part of this question is. Up to now, is it clear, beta Zainab?
Yes.
Okay, now we have to solve the second part of the question. Before starting the second part, I will just erase the whole scenario. But remember that under root 12 cos of 2x plus pi by 6, that's the answer of this terms. So this is the eraser over here. Now I have to find this answer of the second term. Yes. Again, the second term you have to use over the integration. So there is no need to write this one. Okay. Just wait. I will find other questions and then do some practice to solve the trigonometry. You have to wait for 2 minutes. Okay. Just wait. I'm stop sharing. Now, again, I am sharing the new papers that's also belonging to the past papers 2023. So we have to solve these questions. Now this question is May, October, November 2023, and that paper is 3-3. I will zoom in. So first of all, we will find where the question is belong to trigonometry. That question belongs in the modulus, the first one. Again, Argand diagram. Then we have the complex number. Then we have this one. So this question is. So that's the question. We have equations. Show that the equation cot raised to power 2 theta plus cos of 2 theta is equal to 4 can be written in this form. Now, this is a transformation of the one equation to the another form. So in this case, you can't equalize the terms because equation is expressed in other form. For this one, you have to solve another steps over here. So I start from the left hand side and I have to start this equation and I have to make the second one. Okay, how will I start this one? So as the question is given, what question is given over here? So the question is cot of square of theta plus 2 times cos of 2 theta, that is equal to 4. I have to change the whole equation in terms of sine and the single theta. That's my target is the whole equation I have to change into the sine and single of theta. So moving to forward, I have this one. I have to write the formulas. Which formulas I have to use in this question? The first formula is whenever we have the cos of 2 theta. So we have this one. Cos of 2 theta, you have to write there are three formulas. The first formula is cos square of theta minus sine square of theta. The second formula of the cos of 2 theta is only in terms of the cosine 2 cos square of theta minus 1. And the third formula is 1 minus 2 times sine square of theta. That's the first formula. Then we have the formula of the cot of theta. So cot of theta is always upon cos of theta upon sine of theta. So I have to use these two results to form this equation into the required form. So as this equation is given, I will start with the black marker. And how I will start this one? Cot. I don't need the cot, so I have to express this one as that becomes the cos square of theta over sine square of theta. That's the definition of the cot. If you have the square, you have to write the square. 2 times. Because you have to expand this cos 2 theta, that 2 theta is not required. I have to change in terms of the theta. So this formula I have to use. Which one? The last one. So cos of 2 theta, that is equal to this one. So how you will solve this one as the first one is cos 2 theta becomes 1 minus 2 times sine square of theta is equal to 4. Now, one thing is left. What is the thing is, open all the brackets because I have to change this one. I have to remove this cos square. The whole question is correct, but I remove this cos square. So first of all, I have this one. So cos square of theta over sine square of theta plus 2, that becomes minus 4 sine square of theta is equal to 4. So shift all term on one side of the equations, but what will be requirement? Shift all terms on the one side of the equation. So I will get, because I have to remove this cosine square on the other side. So it becomes, I have to write over here, cos square of theta is equal to the, that 2 you have to shift on the other side. The simplification of, you can solve by any method. It becomes 4 sine square of theta. And this plus 2 becomes a minus 2. You will get over here. And this cos square is dividing over here. You have to multiply on the other side of the equation. So you have to multiply on the other side of the equation. How you will multiply? With this one, sine square of theta. So what will you do over here? Very simple. So you have to write this one as cos square of theta. That becomes 4 sine square of theta plus 4 minus 2 becomes plus 2. And you have to multiply by whole this one, the sine square of theta. Because we need in the required equation, there is no need of the cos square. So I have again, but I will change on the according to the AS formulas. So we have 1 minus sine square of theta and expand this one. When 4 sine square is multiplied with sine square, it becomes 4 sine of 4 of theta. And 4 plus 2 multiplied this one, I have the 2 times sine square of theta. Shift R term on one side of the equation, what will you get? That becomes 0 is equal to the 4 times sine of 4 of theta plus 2 times sine square of theta plus that minus sine square of theta. You have to shift on the other side. It becomes plus sine square of theta and plus 1 becomes minus 1. So the required equation becomes 4 times sine of 4 of theta plus 3 times sine square of theta, and that is minus 1. So that is the required form of the equations. And what's the second part of this question is? Just I have to observe over here. What's the second part of the question is? I will erase this one and try to solve the second part. Yes, the second part of the question is you have to solve this equation. You have to solve this equation cos square of theta plus 2 times cos of 2 theta is equal to 4. So up to now we have done all the steps where you change this one, you have make this one, you transform it 4 sine 4 of theta plus 3 sine square of theta. 4 sine 4 of theta. So already hence, whenever we have the word hence, this means I have to use the result of the previous. 4 times sine of 4 of theta minus 3 times sine square of theta and minus 1 equal to 0. Just I want to check it is the correct equation or not. Sorry, one mistake over here. The 4 sine 4 of theta plus 3 sine square of theta minus 1. That is a plus sign. Okay, I will change this one. Yeah. So this sign is plus. That sign is plus. Now I have to write this equation. Don't you think that this equation belonging to the topic of the reducible quadratic equation? Now there are two methods. The first one is I will change this equation uh, in the form of algebraic equation, and the second is if I have, I can factorize this equation because that is midterm breaking. So I have this one 4 times sine of 4 of theta plus, because I have to make the factor of the 4, when you subtract, the answer is 3. So I have the 4 times sine square of theta by midterm breaking plus sine square of theta, that minus 1 equal to 0. So the first two terms, we have to make the pairs, and the first two terms, I have the 4 sine square of theta is as common. So I have to write 4 sine square of theta is taken as common. Within the bracket, I have this one is sine square of theta and plus 1 if I'm not wrong. Then I have the second one is over here, plus 1 is taken as common, and within the bracket, I have this one sine square of theta. And we know that over here we have this one is the minus sign. So when we take the minus sign common, so you have this one over here. That's the minus sign is minus 1 is taken as common, sine square of theta plus 1 over here. So the bracket in the blue colors, the same terms. This means up to now your factorization was correct. So we have to write sine square of theta plus 1 over here. And the rest of the the terms without the bracket, you will write this one as 4 sine square of theta minus 1 over here. When we have the two factors and both the factors are multiplying, getting the answer 0, this means the first factor you have to put equal to 0 and second factor you have to put equal to 0. So first factor is sine square plus theta is equal to 0, and the second factor is 4 times sine square of theta minus 1 equal to 0. In the first one is, I have this one, sine square of theta is equal to minus 1 and sine square of theta is equal to 1 by 4. This solution does not exist because the square of any number is not negative. So this solution does not exist. Now we have to solve the second part of the question is, I will get the sine of theta that is equal to the plus minus 1 by 2. Now there are two equations. You have to solve both the equations one by one with the black color. So the first equation is sine of theta is equal to the plus 1 by 2 and cos of theta is equal to the minus 1 by 2. From where I will get this cos. This is not cos, this is the sine. So I have to write this one sine of theta. So first sine of theta is 1 by 2. I have to make two coordinates with the help of the line. The first quadrant will be just like this one with the red marker. So first quadrant will be over here. The second quadrant you have to write over here. The third quadrant over here because we have the two equations. Now what will you do? I have to solve the equations over here. So first line, because the sine of theta is positive, in which quadrant the sine of theta is positive? The sine of theta is positive in first quadrant. The sine of theta is positive in second quadrant. The second equation, sine of theta is negative in the third quadrant, and the sine of theta is negative in third quadrant. Now over here, that's the first basic angle. That's the first basic angle. That's the second basic angle. That's the second basic angle. When we find the sine inverse of 1 by 2, I will get theta is equal to the 30 degree. Similarly, this angle is 30 degree. This angle is also 30 degree. Because I have to take the positive value of the sine inverse, this angle becomes 30 degree and this angle becomes 30 degree. So what are the angles? Angle will be just like this one. Angle always start from the positive x-axis too. So you have to write this angle. The first is this one. The second is this one. The third is this one. So you have these angles. You have to write angles with the blue marker. So first angle is 30 degree. Second angle is 150 degree. Third angle is 210 degree. Fourth angle is 330 degree. That is our answer. It's okay, beta. Just wait to join the second meeting of so that I can explain other questions as well.